If you really like arpeggiators but also feel like they always have the same robotic, static qualities and you're just lacking some ideas on how to make it sound more interesting, this video should be great for you, because I want to share with you how you can pimp the Ableton Arpeggiator and basically have some fun with it. So I want to share some interesting modulation ideas with you, but also give you some tips on how to choose notes and patterns for just leaving the static character that we've all heard like a million times. My name is Janis, by the way, and let's jump right into it. The first thing you have to think of is already what kind of notes you want to use. And the typical thing is that you play it with the keyboard, so you play a chord or you program it into the MIDI clip. I actually like to use the chord plugin for it way more because it makes me listen more closely to the intervals. So let's do it this way. You program one static MIDI note and put a chord effect in front of the arpeggiator, because this makes us really focused on what kind of notes we create. The chord effect is great. You can also sync it to a tonality, but actually let's do it. Let's say we're in C. Let's make a minor chord and sync it to the tonality. So now the typical minor chord would be like a third, which is like 2 scale tones, and a fifth. So this should be like a typical minor chord, and let's set it to 16th notes. And this one already sounds quite cool because we're using some odd number in the up mode, which means it only plays the notes of the chord and then it goes back to the first note, meaning we have a 3/4 kind of rhythm that is going on here, making it a little more interesting. So if we would have 2 bars and make the note longer, this even overlaps for 2 bars, which is already like some more interesting pattern. Because if you use some other mode, for example the up and down mode, you get this kind of more monotonous sound. That gets boring more easily because basically it's all based on the downbeats compared to the more rhythmic interaction we got from the up mode. So this is just the first thing to consider. And also, if you're making chords for the arpeggiator, don't get stuck with only like thirds, because I mean this is like the basic minor chord, but you can also make great arpeggios with scale steps in between. So I mean here if we add the 6, it would probably be like a minor 7 chord. But we could also try to go to the 5, which is like the flat 6. Which is some very interesting note. And then we see if we maybe add some octave here. And again, we have some interesting pattern because now we add 4 notes here plus the root note, which is 5. And 5/4, or whatever other subdivision you want to think of, is some super interesting rhythm as well. So actually, let's listen to it with a click again. So that's just about the note selection. We didn't even touch the arpeggiator apart from the rate or the style yet. It's just something you have to think of, because often in music I feel like the decisions you make in the beginning or at the start of a chain or some longer process have like a big impact on what happens after, compared to if you do a lot of tweaking in the end, but then you have to fight against things that you didn't take care of in the first place. So having like a great chord or a great sequencing idea is already key for like a great sounding arpeggio. Now let's check out some of the arpeggiator settings. For example, the steps in conjunction with the distance, because this gives you some generative vibes. And again, we can sync it to the tonality. So we're in C minor. So now the arpeggiator is also going to be synced to C minor. So all variations that are containing other notes than the chord will still be part of the C minor scale, which means because if the distance is at 12 and we add the steps, we get some additional octave. But if we bring it to a smaller distance, for example, 1 scale tone, it means that we repeat the sequence, but from the second note of the scale, because this now is C, E flat, G, A flat, and again C. But the second time it will play, it's going to be 1 step further. So the first note is going to be D, then it should be like an F, some A, the B flat, and the D again. So listen to this. And if we use 2 as a distance, it's going to move in thirds. So the second time it will start at E flat, go to G, B flat, C, and actually E flat again. You get some cool patterns this way. By the way, in case all those music theory words seem a little cryptical to you, like scales, tonality, modes, or the steps, be known that I have like a mini course on my website where I speak about music theory in a very practical way for ongoing music producers, and it's also having like a particular focus on jazz. The link is down below in the description, and it's also part of a bigger bundle with some additional classes about music production, perfect for beginners, like about how to make rhythms more interesting, or also about synthesizer basics. You can also find the link down below in the description. And before speaking about some more of these settings, there's some additional thing that I really like to do with the arpeggiator because it creates MIDI, so you can capture it and tweak it further. And that's opening up so many chances for you. So let's add some additional MIDI track. Actually, let's use another color and make it receive MIDI from our first track, the track. So you see, now we receive some MIDI and we can record it, and we can also record any tweaks we make here. So I actually liked when I played with the distance, so when I changed between 2 and 3, so we can simply record that. Which is super cool because now you basically have the arpeggio here, and if you put the sound on the same track, you can edit it and also say, okay, I like the arpeggio, but it's just too many notes, so I want to get rid of some of them. So you can simply click on them and mute or delete them, just as an example, and refine it further. And here it really becomes more musical because you're not just using the machine and leaving it as it is. You use it as some idea generator and then you tweak it further. So this just as some additional tip to keep in mind. Now the real fun part comes up, which is modulating stuff. And this is generally one of the best things about Ableton, that while you have all those individual effects, you can make it like a whole system because you have LFOs and modulators that you can use for modulating everything. So here we're going to use some LFO, and we can use it for modulating, for example, the distance, which means we will get different types of additional variations, or actually different intervals, and we have to match it a little. So we only have a small variation. Let's make it only plus. So we put it at 2, and sometimes we get a little more, and we can make it slower. So let's see what happens. Let's exaggerate. So you actually get some different types of movements for the sequence. And while we're at the LFOs, let's add another one, because now we have still the same order all the time, but you have some offset setting. And the offset basically means that it starts one position later or one position earlier. So if the offset is at 0, it's like the typical setting. If it would be at 1, it would actually start at this note. So it would start at the E flat, the second note. And if it's on 2, it would start on the third note, which is like the G. And if we also modulate this one, it will mean that we get different orders of the notes. So let's also check out this one with a mild setting and also like a slower rate. By the way, in case you enjoy this video and also feel like supporting the channel, you can quickly hit the like button and be also warmly invited to subscribe, because I regularly share tips and tricks about music production. And I'm exaggerating now a little just to show you what happens, but it's more like a mindset of exploration that I want to show you that opens up so many cool things about the arpeggiator. You can also modulate, for example, the gate with another type of LFO. Let's do that. And actually, we could even use another effect for the gate, which is expression control, because here it picks up any trigger. Actually, it should come after the arpeggiator because we want all the triggers. And then we use the random mode for sending some random value to the gate. So each individual step will have like a random length. So we map it to the gate. It's also good to understand the repeats that you can find here, because they offer some fun opportunities as well. Let's actually mute those two LFOs because and also this one, so we can focus on one thing at a time. So if you have like one repetition, it's only going to play once the whole thing that you want to play. Okay, actually the gate has to be higher. So if this would be at 2, it would go 1 octave higher still. But then it stops. But if I put repeats to 2, we actually play the whole cycle twice. Second time. Then it waits until the next trigger, which is actually fun to know because we can also modulate a little the repeats. So let's again grab some LFO and map it to the repeats. So we have moments where it goes further or where it plays more notes compared to moments where it basically repeats the whole thing once. And it should actually give us some occasional breaks or moments where we don't hear a note. And I hope this inspires you to reinvent the arpeggiator and to find some super cool arpeggios that possibly lead you to some super cool sequences. Keep also in mind that you can still send this to any hardware sequencer, because this is stuff you can send to hardware or to a software sequencer, so you're like super flexible. And if you want to see some more examples on how to edit the recorded MIDI, so if you record like the stuff you do here into like some additional clip and want to make it musically more interesting, there's a video where I speak about it that you can find here. And also you're warmly invited to check out this playlist for more creative tips on music production. Apart from that, I wish you lots of inspiration with whatever it is that you create and really hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye.